Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
We're back. Hello again. It is the Carolina Insider. Jones and Adam here with you. Excited to be talking Tar Heels for the next 30 minutes or so. And man, do we have a lot of good stuff to talk about. We're going to look back at that incredibly impressive football victory over Miami this past Saturday. We'll discuss bowl potential for Carolina, maybe an Orange Bowl out there lurking for the Heels here coming soon. We'll discuss basketball. Of course, there's been a last-minute schedule change for the Tar Heels. We'll talk about that. Women's basketball as well. Plus, we have a basketball-related guest. RJ Davis is going to join us, freshman guard for the Heels. Think you'll enjoy listening to a little bit from RJ. Plus, we have our social drive. So much to do here on the Carolina Insider. But Adam, nowhere else to start other than that football game against Miami. 62-26. The final score. Tar Heels put up massive offensive numbers in the game. School record in yards, nearly a school record in rushing yards as well. Just an incredible performance from Carolina this past Saturday.
What a day for Carolina football. A day on which every single thing they needed to have happen all came together in one neat little 3.5-hour package. Offense played great. Defense played very well. Tar Heels go on the road and beat a number 10 team to put themselves in really good position for the postseason and set a ton of records, Jones, in the process.
Yeah, in fact, we're going to talk a lot about the offense, and there you see it. 778 yards. That was the most ever that Carolina has ever gained and the most ever against the University of Miami. We know what kind of history that the U has. Plus, Adam, that one to me on the left side of the screen about Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, the most yards ever for a running duo in a game. I mean, that one to me is stunning.
And to do it against the number 10 team in the country. I'm guessing the other 4 or 5 top marks among duos are against competition that wasn't similar to the team that was playing. Carter and Williams did it against a very good defense.
544 yards for those two guys combined. And also Javonte Williams found his way to the end zone 3 times in this game, and so now he holds the single-season Carolina record for touchdowns in a year with 22. He also is tied for first. You see there on the side that it says 19 by rush. The 19 rushing touchdowns are tied for the most in single-season Carolina history. That is Javonte tied with Don McCauley from 1970. So total touchdowns, he is now first. In rushing touchdowns alone, he is tied for first as far as how many times in a single season.
And that's a record, that, as you said, that has stood for 50 years.
Yeah.
And Javonte did it against a schedule that didn't have any padding. There was only one non-conference game in there, and everybody else was a conference opponent. I think that makes it even more impressive if you need to make a record like that more impressive.
We're going to get to one of the biggest runs Javonte had in the game in just a second. Well, there it is. Yeah, let's go ahead and go because this one was so impressive. Adam, this was one of the more impressive runs I think that you will see, period, even though it wasn't a touchdown run. So you've probably seen this a bunch since it happened, but maybe you haven't seen it from the Tar Heel sideline where we have a camera angle and some natural sound coming up. So let's take a look and listen to that Javonte Williams run as it looked and sounded on the Tar Heel sideline. Adam, I mean, that was, what a run. I mean, everything you could ask for from a back in one play: power, speed, agility, shiftiness, just what a play.
I'm really glad they got my audio on there.
Yeah, that's what everybody sounded like.
As Javonte runs over a defender, woo! I think that instantly goes on your single Carolina play list. Bracy Walker blocking a punt at the Peach Bowl, Gio running the punt back against NC State. I think that run is right on a list with those plays, as instantly when you see it, you know, oh, that was Javonte in the Miami game in 2020 when Carolina put a hurting on the Hurricanes.
Adam, wanted to quickly mention the defensive side of the ball because we've talked a lot about offense. You mentioned defense briefly, but there were some big plays defensively for Carolina. Chaz Surratt had that 4th down stop early in the game. Tony Grimes had his first career interception. Jaquarius Conley played really well as a freshman. There were some, Jeremiah Gimmel was, as you'll see here in just a second, was honored as one of the ACC Players of the Week. So, I mean, it was a total win for Carolina.
I think you needed the defense to play the way it did in order to set the tone for that game. Otherwise, you were headed for the shootout that everyone thought was going to happen on paper, with Carolina and Miami both putting up a lot of points. The Carolina defense was so good and so sure-handed with their tackling that the Miami part of that scoring just never materialized because Carolina made all the plays they needed to make.
So as you would expect coming off a game like that, a lot of awards for the Tar Heels, including, I mean, look at this. Every ACC Player of the Week on the offensive side was a Tar Heel. Quarterback Sam Howell, running back Michael Carter, wide receiver De'Ami Brown, offensive lineman Joshua Izudu. There's Jeremiah Gimmel, who we mentioned, who was ACC Linebacker of the Week as well. And Adam, darn near a clean sweep of every award from the Heels.
I feel just slightly bad for De'Ami Brown. Hey, 167 yards receiving. Good job, bud.
Yeah.
If you could have turned the 87-yard reception into maybe like 92,
right,
maybe we talk about you a little more. You'll just have to be content. ACC Player of the Week.
Of course, the man guiding that offense from the coaching side of things is Phil Longo, and he also a great award this week, or great recognition at him, as he's now a semifinalist for the Broyles Award, which is given to college football's top assistant coach.
I think Coach Longo's done about as good a job as you can do. This will be the standard bearer for Carolina offense moving forward.
Yeah.
2020 Tar Heel offense, you've never seen a better one.
Speaking of a decorated coach, how about Mack Brown? He's won just about every award there is to win in his career, and he was honored this week by the Dodd Trophy, named the National Coach of the Week after the Tar Heels had such a terrific win over Miami. And, Adam, that now moves us forward into where Carolina could possibly go in bowl season, as the Tar Heels are ranked number 15 in the college football playoff. And this year a little unique, with Notre Dame and Clemson both potentially making their way into the college football playoff. That could open the door for the Heels to go to the Orange Bowl.
I think the only time I've watched the ACC championship game with as much interest as this year would have been 2015 when Carolina was in it. So the Tar Heels moved ahead of Miami in the college football playoff rankings. That means if indeed Clemson could beat Notre Dame on Saturday, nothing's guaranteed, but you feel pretty good that Carolina would have the inside track to that Orange Bowl spot, which would be the first time in a major bowl since 1949. Long time. And I think the question is still open. If Notre Dame beats Clemson again, but it's close, could Clemson still stay in that quartet of playoff teams? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But that being said, I'm going to have on my orange on Saturday.
So, of course, the ACC championship game coming up Saturday night. Those bowls, the selection for the bowls will be announced, I think it's right around midday on Sunday. So certainly keep your eyes and ears open for that. Adam, certainly we know the present for Carolina football is very exciting, but so is the future. And we got a glimpse of that this past Wednesday with National Signing Day. Tar Heels signing one of their best classes ever. Not a huge class as far as number of players coming in. There are 18 signees, but the quality of player that the Tar Heels bringing in should be very exciting to you if you cheer for the Heels.
And you've got the perfect storm here of every single time Mack Brown has talked to us or talked to anyone, he's talked about the importance of dominating the state of North Carolina in recruiting. He did it so well in Mack Brown 1.0, and he wanted to do it here in Mack Brown 2.0, and he did it. And that's even more important in a year when the talent in the state of North Carolina was about as good as it's ever been. So Carolina was not just dominating the state and getting some of the best players in the state. Those players are some of the best players in the country. So now you're in a situation here in 2020 where Tar Heel football has potentially one of their best bowl berths in this generation to go with one of the best recruiting classes they've had in this generation. It's a good spot to be in.
Pretty consensus of top 12 to 15 national recruiting class for the Tar Heels. So really exciting day for sure this past Wednesday. And Coach Brown, in fact, met with the media after all the NLIs were in to discuss this signing day and signing class. We pulled just a short clip for you to hear a little bit from Coach Brown.
18 newcomers, 11 of them will come in early. There's one guy that's thinking about it. He's still playing basketball, and we'll talk about him when the time comes up here in a minute. As of right now, we're rated the number 13 class in the country. And even more important than that, the 18-member class that we've got is the second smallest class, meaning number of signees, in the top 15. We're a better football team today just because of these additions, and can't wait to get these guys in school. They'll show up January 16th, and they will start school on January 19th. And then can't wait to get them all in spring practice with the other young guys.
9 offensive players, 9 defensive players in this 18-man recruiting class for the Tar Heels, including a quarterback in Drake May. Of course, Luke's younger brother, his dad Mark, a former quarterback for the Tar Heels as well. A lot of talent on that defensive side of the ball. And Adam, when you mix in that with some really exciting freshmen who are starting to play more and more right now for the Tar Heel defense, boy, it's fun to think about.
And one of those freshmen who you could even count as part of this class, and Jones mentioned Tony Grimes earlier, who had the big interception against Miami. If you add him into this class, of which he should technically be a part if he hadn't graduated early, that bumps him up even a couple more slots nationally in terms of recruiting class. So young players coming in, talented, able to contribute early. That's what Mac Brown's made a habit of doing throughout his career at Carolina.
All right, let's change gears. Let's look at Carolina basketball. And Adam, it kind of got lost a little bit with the big football matchup on Saturday, but Tar Heels did have a game. It was a rescheduled game. Originally, the Tar Heels were supposed to play Elon. That game was canceled due to COVID problems in the Elon program. So at the last minute, North Carolina Central was added to the Tar Heel docket. And it wasn't the prettiest game for the Heels, but they ended up getting the win in the Smith Center and tried to get a little bit better that afternoon.
It was a win, and Carolina got to play a game, which, as we've seen, perhaps in the near future, all that matters is that you get to play the game. Armando Bacot quietly continued what's been a really good start to the season for him. He's been more consistent than he's ever been in his Carolina career. Still some issues team-wise with some turnovers, and Carolina's got to figure out a way to shoot the ball from the perimeter better to open up some space inside, because we know they got a ton of talent in the paint around the basket, but they're going to have to make some shots to keep opposing defenses from collapsing on the interior. For
Bacot, it was a double-double, his second in the last 3 games. He had 19 points and 11 rebounds against Central, and what ended up being a 6-point win. Tar Heels led by 15-17 for a large majority of the second half. Central went on a big run right at the end to get it a little more uncomfortable for the Heels at the end of the ball game, but again, 73-67, Carolina gets the win. Adam, and so the Tar Heels thought that their next game was going to be against Ohio State at 4:30 on Saturday in Cleveland as part of the CBS Sports Classic, but hang tight, Adam. It's 2020. And that means the Tar Heels at the last moment found out that their opponent's going to be somebody different and somebody they know pretty well, a team they've played a bunch here in recent years. Carolina and Kentucky will now match up instead. That will be at 2 o'clock, still in Cleveland as part of the doubleheader CBS Sports Classic. But so the game time and the opponent change. So Saturday, 2 o'clock, Carolina and Kentucky now.
Both these teams have pretty similar profiles, although Carolina's had more success with actually winning games here early in the season. But both teams have been good on the offensive glass. We know Carolina's good at that every year, and Kentucky usually is too. Both teams have struggled shooting the ball from the perimeter. Both teams have turned it over more than their coaches would probably like. And not coincidentally, both teams have a lot of young players in the mix. So you add that together, you're going to see two pretty similar teams. I really think this game, and honestly for a lot of this season, whatever team can handle the unpredictability of schedules changing and routines being out of whack, those are the teams that have the chance to be the most successful over the course of this season. And Carolina's going to have to do it Saturday. They're going to get ready for Kentucky on what turns into a quick turnaround. But honestly, Carolina wouldn't have worked on the opponent prior to Wednesday anyway. So instead of getting ready for Ohio State, they'll get ready for Kentucky, and that's a big game. Carolina needs to beat the Wildcats on Saturday in Cleveland.
Kentucky 1-4 on the season, won its season opening matchup with Morehead State, but has lost 4 in a row. Its most recent game was a close loss, a 1-point loss to Notre Dame this past Saturday. So why did the games change? According to the CBS Sports Classic, it was so that the opponents would better align with their COVID protocols.
Well, and you mentioned the loss to Notre Dame. Kentucky looked bad in the first half of that game, but then in the second half looked much more like the Kentucky who everyone might be accustomed to. So you just never know when they might put it together. Carolina's going to have to play well, get your COVID tests, get to the game. Hopefully both teams will be there. Hopefully they'll play. Then we'll move on.
2 o'clock Saturday, Carolina and Kentucky now from up in Cleveland. Adam, before we get to our conversation with RJ Davis, wanted to mention women's basketball as well. The women, they've had some schedule challenges as well due to problems with opponents. That meant that after a very close loss on the road to Wake Forest, the Tar Heels were then supposed to play Louisville. It ended up that all of a sudden they were playing Miami instead, and that turned into a very close road loss. So certainly not the start that Carolina wanted, but at 0-2 in the ACC, both those games, though, have come down to the final possession, and as we said, on the road.
And this is another case where you've got to be able to handle changes. You've got to be able to handle your routine getting out of whack. You might be getting on a plane 6 hours from now to go play a team you thought you weren't going to play till February. That's just how the season's going to go. Courtney Banghart's got a young team. The freshmen and the youngsters have played pretty well so far. Tar Heels got to get some better play from the upperclassmen as they proceed through the ACC schedule.
Next scheduled matchup for the Tar Heels is tonight, 8 o'clock in Chapel Hill against Syracuse. And that game is available on the ACC network. All right, let's get to our conversation. Had a chance, Adam, to talk about youngsters over there in his sweater vest. Sounds like Grandpa. And Grandpa Adam and I had a chance to talk with RJ Davis recently. Of course, one of those two freshman guards starting for Carolina. I think you'll enjoy this. RJ, a fun young guy for the Heels. We'll get to that. Come back. We've got our social drive coming up after that here on the Carolina Insider.
So, RJ, thanks a lot for giving us some time today. I can't imagine you ever dreamed your first year of college basketball would be the way it's been. What have these last few weeks been like?
Well, first I want to say thanks for having me. Second of all, it's been it's a different scenario, different scenery, especially for my first year playing college basketball. Obviously with no fans, it's basically an empty gym, just you and your opponent going at it. But at the end of the day, I think it's still basketball. You're still competing to win that game. So you have to bring your own energy.
So, RJ, what is it like? I think one of the real unique things about the beginning part of the season is how active the benches are. Like, the guys not on the court and just how loud they are and how involved they. Do you hear that at all? Like, if the other team starts chirping you from the bench, do you hear that at all, or do you just play right through it?
I mean, you can hear it at all because there's no fans, so you can't really ignore it really because it's everybody's right there. You can hear your team chirping whenever you score or just to get your team going. You can hear the other team's bench. So I mean, basically everyone's voice is being heard in that arena.
Do you ever get mad about smack talk on the court at this point, or has it just been a part of your life long enough that it's just kind of part of the game?
It's part of the game, especially growing up in New York. There's smack talk left and right. So whether you're at the parks or you're even playing high school basketball, there will be smack talk being involved. So basically, I'm used to it.
Who's the best junk talker you've ever played against?
Oh man,
well, that's a good question. I'll have to say whenever we played against either Cardinal Hayes or St. Raymond's back in my high school, those are the two, the guards basically. Just the team overall, probably the best, junk talkers.
Do you talk junk, or are you a quiet guy on the court?
Well, it's hard, For me, I'm I'm like a silent assassin, so I really won't talk too much unless you really get me going.
Oh, that's how it gets. You got to get under your skin a little bit.
Yeah, you really got to get on my skin. Or if it's like a rivalry game where I feed off the energy. But usually I won't really say too much. I just let my game do the talking.
So people are still getting to know RJ a little bit. Tell us how basketball became your thing. When did you realize, hey, I'm pretty good at this?
I would say around second, third grade, that's when I really started playing, competitively basketball. Started playing with New York Gauchos around that time. So I remember we went down to Florida for the Nationals, and that's when, things, for me, it felt like I could do something with basketball. And ever since then, I gained that confidence where I could just, go out and hoop against anyone.
So your dad played college basketball too, right?
Yes, sir.
So did you grew up around the game a little bit? I'm assuming. I assume that he kind of introduced you to it, or is that not correct?
That is correct. It took a while for him to introduce it to me at first. I was usually just growing up. I used to play a bunch of sports.
Sure.
So he didn't really let me focus on basketball just yet. It was more so getting the feel for all other sports I played, like t-ball growing up, soccer, football, lacrosse, and then basketball. I think became more so my main sport, middle school. So from elementary school to middle school, I've been playing all the sports.
Jones and I have talked about some this year how the Tar Heels play a game and you don't really realize RJ's out there scoring, and then you look at the box score and yep, RJ's got his 12 or 14 again. Have you always been able to put the ball in the basket?
Yeah, especially at my size, I felt like, I've always had the ability to score, at all levels. I think that's something part of my game that I'm most proud of, just for my ability, especially at my size, just to get the ball in the hoop. And not also just get the ball in the hoop, but also, bring energy on both ends of the court and get my teammates involved.
So, from the size perspective, in the grand scheme of life, R.J. Davis is not a small person. He's
tall to me.
That's right. He is a big person on the scale of life. But in basketball, you are on the smaller side. How have you managed through that and gotten to this point of your career, even though I think some people go, he's a little smaller than a traditional guard?
Yeah, I just use it to my advantage. I really block out the extra chirps, the outside noise about what are people saying, especially the ones that are doubting me. I just use my height as an advantage, with my quickness, with my ability to get around defenders, with my ability to be a pest on defense. I'm really I'm happy with my height. I feel like it's been working ever, since I gone so far from here, from high school. Now I'm at North Carolina. A kid could dream to play here. So I just use that as my advantage, and I don't really let the outside noise get into my head because, what do they know?
When you have to defend a bigger guy, what's the key to doing that well?
Try to maintain them, contain. Don't let, obviously, they're going to try to post me up, so try to front him. Or if he does post me up, just remain my ground and try to get a steal from behind.
I remember you told us this summer you had watched some film of Marcus and Joel playing together.
Right.
Now that you've actually had to go out and do it in a few games, what did you see from them that you think does apply, and what did you see from them that you think this is not really similar to Caleb and I?
Well, Marcus and Joel, they're both, they're 2 point guards that played with each other. So I feel like that's how me and Caleb are. We're both point guards playing alongside each other. So, the way they, complement each other well with, scoring the ball, looking for each other on fast break transitions, and seeing how they run the team. Because not all the time, point guards basically that extra voice of the coach on the team. So just seeing how well that, they're that coach on the floor. And I feel like me and Caleb are both freshmen, so we're both learning. There will be mistakes, but, it's good that, we're making the mistakes so we can learn from them, going into, because we both want to win the championship, and I'm pretty sure the rest of the team does as well.
So, RJ, as we are talking to RJ, Carolina's 6 games in to the regular season. Just how's it going? How has it been just from the straight basketball side of things? How do you feel like it's going?
I feel like it's going pretty well. I think I'm doing a pretty good job so far as far as my freshman year. Obviously, there's a lot of things to be I'm learning. So it's so fast all at once. But I'm receiving all advice from my coaching staff to my players on the floor. So I'm just really taking it all in and just learning each day and every day and just trying to get better.
Has it been? What's the most challenging? Is it the speed of the game that's the most challenging? Is it just the amount of information that you're trying to take in from Coach Williams and the team at this point that's the most challenging? What's been the hardest for you?
The speed of the game is definitely a lot. The pace of the game is a lot faster than high school ball. I could say that. And it's just from retaining all this information all at once. For me to playing the 1 and the 2, so I have to learn both spots. I think that's it. It's been. I'm definitely got a hang of it now. I think at the start of it, I was a little confused of where to go, how to set it up. But with the help of Coach Williams and the rest of the coaching staff, they did a good job of, giving me information of how to play the 1 and the 2.
Appreciate RJ's time in our interviews as they are every week here on the show, brought to you by Coca-Cola, which tastes better together and is a proud partner of Carolina Athletics. Adam.
Yes.
We have a giant box now on the table. Do you know where this box is from?
I believe it's from Dewey's Bakery.
Dewey's Bakery in Winston-Salem. And if you're looking for a holiday gift idea, Dewey's has a lot of delicious baked goods. They've been a North Carolina holiday tradition since 1930. Adam, let's open up the box. You can visit deweys.com, and order gift boxes full of, let's see here, Moravian cookie thins.
Right.
We've got those.
Yep.
Moravian sugar cake. We don't have a full cake in here. Cheese straws. They are a classic Southern treat. I'm going to have one of those right now. Okay. It's the perfect way to send warm holiday wishes to the ones you love. It is Deweys.com, Deweys.com. Adam, you going to have a sugar cookie?
I'm going to have
Our
a sugar
producer,
cookie.
Paul, wants one of these oatmeal.
Yeah.
What are these? Oatmeal cream?
They're oatmeal cream pies, Jones. If the
for
show
you, Paul,
is good,
coming
that's
shortly.
going to Paul.
Yeah. If we have no more mess ups here on the show, Paul's getting a oatmeal sugar cookie. So again, it's Deweys.com. Don't mind us. We're just going to have a sugar cookie and a cheese straw here. Deweys.com. And Adam, we actually received an email from a pod watcher and listener about Dewey's and how much they love it.
Well, no surprise. Pod listener Michael Gaskins mentioned that Dewey's is a big part of his family's Christmas every single year. You see there, part of the young members of the Gaskins clan. Look, they've got a whole bag full of stuff.
Yeah, look, he's holding up one of the oatmeal cookies.
That's actually young Paul. He had shaved in that shot, but then he was able to get the oatmeal cream pie. He obviously had a good show that day. So Dewey's, big part of North Carolina Christmas for years and years, been part of our family's Christmas. You got to have your sugar bread every single Christmas day. And now I'll also want to have a sugar cookie.
So I'm finishing up my cheese straw as we move on. All right, let's get to the social drive. And yeah, you better drive us out.
Don't eat and drive now. Be
Don't
careful.
do that. That's troublesome. All right, Adam, pretty cool moment earlier this week involving Taylor McDaniels from the Carolina Women's Lacrosse Program. She was a December graduate, and whoa, she got some big-time news when she was making an appearance on the ACC network. Let's take a listen.
We're happy to tell you right now that you are officially the grand prize winner. So on top of that $2,500, you have won another $20,000 for that scholarship. So congratulations to you. What does it mean to you to be the one that's selected for that grand prize of $20,000?
Wow, that's all I've got to say is wow. And I did not know this or anything, so I'm very shell-shocked and very, very, very thankful for this opportunity, because that right there took a lot off of, stress of having to pay for, my master's program.
As you saw there, she wins the scholarship for teachers as part with the college football playoff with the ACC with Dr. Pepper, and Taylor going on to get her master's in special education. And what an awesome moment. Taylor, right there, live, found out that she had just won a $20,000 scholarship.
That was a cool moment. I like that on the ACC network. And it reminds you, after you finish cheering for the Tar Heels on the field, they're going on to do important stuff, and real world problems of paying for graduate school, Taylor's got it taken care of right there. That was cool. I like that.
Someone who maybe doesn't have many problems paying for school or anything at this point in his life is Michael Jordan. And Adam, we found via social media, this was actually a tweet from former Tar Heel player and former head coach Matt Doherty. Look at this. It's just randomly Michael Jordan in a UNC Asheville sweatshirt dunking at the Deke House in Chapel Hill.
So many questions about, you could write an entire oral history of just this picture. There's like a DeLorean or something in the background. There's the guy who's amazed in his Marty McFly jacket. There's Michael Jordan, for some reason, wearing his UNC Asheville sweatshirt. Matt Doherty later tweeted, follow-up to this tweet, that after this dunk, Michael Jordan then played 1-on-4 against 4 Dekes. Not Demon Deacons, members of the fraternity. And Matt Doherty said that Michael Jordan got the win. Yeah,
well, no surprise there. Also, no surprise, Adam, that former Tar Heel and, of course, longtime NBA coach George Karl is on the cutting edge of fashion, or at least at one point was. What's going on here?
He's wearing a belt, and it appears to be a functional belt. I don't think that's just for show. Coach Karl says that belt buckles may need a comeback. That's a very good-looking shot of youthful George Karl. And if Carolina's going to do throwbacks again, Jones, I think maybe you throw it back to the belt.
Adam, I trust your knowledge as a historian for Carolina basketball. Did you know they ever? I've never seen that uniform before with the belt.
I've seen the belt. I don't think I realized it was functional. I thought it was. People just thought, you know what, make this basketball uniform look better? Instead of suspenders, what if we put a belt on there?
No unitard here. It's just a belt.
In that shot, though, it looks like a functional belt.
Yeah. All right, speaking of functional, Mitch Trubisky was functional and beyond this past weekend for the Chicago Bears. What a day for Mitch, and of course it has been an up and down season for Mitch in Chicago, but got the start against the Texans. You see there, he's 57% winning percentage as a starter, and had a couple of really nice plays, including a touchdown pass there near the end of the first half.
Out for the Bears. Demetrius Harris up top left, and they got the touchdown. That's caught by Robinson. 3-yard touchdown reception. Third touchdown pass in the first half by Trubisky. And a lone fan enjoying it here at Empty Soldier Field.
So, Adam, it has not been an easy go, certainly day in and day out for Mitch Trubisky, but good to see him have some success, and the Bears got a pretty dominating win over Houston.
I really like the picture of Mitch Trubisky in that tweet about his winning percentage. It's as though they told him, all right, we're going to put this tweet up. We need a picture of what you would look like when you saw this tweet.
That's right.
And that's what he did. How do you feel about the Bears' throwback uniforms?
I don't mind the Bears. I like it better than the belt buckle for the Tar Heels, if that's what you're asking.
I think that's probably right.
The Bears, by the way, they are in that mythical In the Hunt graphic in the playoff picture, so they're still in it. Adam, we're going to close things up, as we normally do, by heading to Canada, because the pod is not just national, it is international. Adam, you're going to have to explain this story to us just a little bit.
The pod spans the globe, and this is at a classroom in Canada. Pod listener and viewer Eric Vrieken, a teacher in Canada, his class was having a virtual guest who was a fan of Duke University. So teacher Eric sabotaged that guest by handing out Carolina gear to his class. As you can see here, Tar Heels own the Great White North, including that young gentleman in the back whose sweatshirt is just slightly too big.
Yeah.
And so they greeted the virtual guest who was a Duke fan, all wearing Carolina gear. So great to see Eric spreading the word to, as he mentioned, a lot of his students know more about hockey than basketball, but they're learning, and that's what's important.
That's right, taking baby steps to becoming Tar Heels, and we're Tar Heel fans. Great to see that. Appreciate the cool picture, Eric, and thanks for watching and listening as well. Okay, we're going to be off for the next couple of weeks here on the video pod due to the holidays coming up, so the next 2 weeks, no show. But Adam's going to recharge those batteries and be ready to go at the beginning of 2021, and we'll take you through the spring here on the Carolina Insider as well. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Have a Merry Christmas, a great holiday season. We'll see you soon here on the Carolina Insider.
See you later, Big Grit.